Hey, everybody, it's me, Jonathan Millard, the voice of the Vale, and welcome to another Big Hype podcast brought to you in association with Hype Energy Drinks. Check out their products, link in the description below. And now, Bravos, boxing equipment and gloves, also available, link down below as well. But joining me now in the studio via here home, please welcome a very special guest, and boxing out of the blue corner, red corner, whatever corner he wants to box out of, to be brutally honest with you. I wouldn't want to upset him. Mr. Joe Hughes.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on. Mate. Nice introduction, and yeah,
I should have tried to find the card that I had from that show that we did with the Scott Kalo's show. Great night. That's how I met you, and met Scott, and it was great to put some networking with some others as well. It was a good night. We already said that before we started. It was good to see. It was a nice venue, a new venue for Scott as well. I think one he's going to run with, because I think all the facilities were pretty decent, to be brutally honest with him, and quite a good thing. What do you think of it all?
Yeah, nice venue. It's got a little bit of class about it for the small hall as well. Like the small hall gets that reputation of being leisure centres and whatnot. So to have that little bit of class about it, it's nice.
It was nice. But anyway, we're going to start the podcast, as we always do, with the same question that I've asked everyone. How and why did you get involved in boxing, Joe?
Originally, so as a young lad, it was for discipline. Bit of a bad lad as a teenager, young teenager. Okay. And I was a half decent footballer, and my brother used to take me to boxing as punishment. So my brother was a decent football, but I like to say he was better than me, but he always says I was better than him. But so he was a good footballer, and he coached me. And then I was like a Roy Keane on the pitch. So I used to just nail people and then get in a bit of a scrap with them. Yeah. And when that happened, brother used to send me to the boxing gym as a bit of punishment. Okay. So that was a young lad, and then stopped boxing for probably 5 or 6 years. So probably 12 years old when that happened. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 18, I decided to have a charity boxing match.
Okay.
Because I'd been around, obviously, the amateur gyms and stuff as a young lad, and I had a bit of experience. But I was like, I want to fight. And I seen online this train for 8 weeks and you can have a fight. I thought, great, nice one. Keeps me out of trouble for 8 weeks, and I'll do it. So I did that. Mm-hmm. Had a fight and loved it. Never looked back. So that's where it started.
So going back to the naughty boy getting in trouble playing football. How old were you then? What, 9?
Like 12.
12. Okay.
12-ish. Yeah.
12, and then you stopped for a couple of years. Went off, did other things, girls, school.
Yeah, exactly.
All the things that Yeah, okay, fair enough, we get it. Yeah, we get it. We understand that. And then back into it. So it was the white-collar scene that sort of hooked you back into it.
Yeah.
How did they find... Because obviously you were an experience, you've had some experience. How did you find the whole experience of 8 weeks training?
I mean,
at that stage?
like you say, it just got me hooked. That's all it was. Yeah. I mean, I trained for... So another like little side reason, really, I say side reason, it's quite important to me, really, but my grandfather, he passed away of cancer, and obviously the white collar boxing was in raising of cancer research. So that was like a side thing for me, why I did it. But after that, I just loved it. I always loved a scrap. My brother and my sisters, we was all the same growing up. And then where I got to do it in a safe and organised manner, it just captured me, and I just loved it. So after that, after having that one white collar fight, I then stepped it up a little bit by just having a few unlicensed fights, and then again with the past experience of boxing as a young lad, I was definitely too good for anyone on the unlicensed scene that was really around at my weight at that time. Mm-hmm. So I think I had about 15 to 16, and I think
about
13 of them 16, I stopped it within a round or two.
I was about to say,
So,
you've taken my next question out. So going from white collar into semi-professional,
yeah.
as they would say, how many fights? 14, 15, did you say?
Yeah,
15,
I think
16?
it was between 15 and 18.
Okay.
I
And
can't remember the exact
and that
number.
was all over the place. Where did you go with those?
Yeah,
Any
everywhere.
particular?
But I even went abroad. I went to Malta.
Wow.
Most of them were in the UK, but just around, London. Trying to think, up to Birmingham. Yeah, I went everywhere. I was one of them. I weren't like an unlicensed boxer that was like, oh, I'm the next best thing since sliced bread, and just sat in the home corner fighting like nobodies. I just went around, got offered a fight, went, fought them, and came home, and that was it.
Would this be on any shows that I would know? Because I've been around a bit myself, so sounds terrible saying that, but
the EBF mainly.
Okay, so
a lot of the fights were on the EBF. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago.
Do you have a fight at the Motor Point?
I fought at the Motor Point, twice.
Was I there?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm sure it was.
When Lee Froch. It was when Lee Froch headlined there.
Oh, against I can see the poster because it's on my wall.
John Lewis.
John Lewis. There you go.
Big John Lewis. He was called. Yeah. There was that one, and then there was another one. I can't remember the other one. It might have been Big Red when he fought.
Big Red. I was there for that one. Definitely, I know that one.
But
I know those. So I have called you. I called you before then. In that case, then. So
yeah.
There you go. Small world, isn't it, boxing?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, but that obviously led into you training more, going into it, and deciding to turn over and have a go at the pro leagues.
Yeah. So at the time when I was unlicensed, I was trained by Nathan Kirk, obviously, and he was a pro at the time. So he was the one training me. So it was between him and my other coach, Kev. They were training me together, and then. As I was progressing on the unlicensed circuit, I then started going down to Nathan's pro gym, which was with Scott, and started training with Scott every now and again. And Scott really liked what I was about, and used to use me for sparring and stuff for other lads. And then we had a little bit of there was a little bit of a chat about turning amateur with his club at the time because he had the amateurs there, and then. We just thought, because of my age and stuff, why not just go straight in for the pros, and we'll just have a load of learning fights, and then once we feel ready to take some bigger and better fights, we'll go for it, and that's what we did. Yeah,
great. So turning pro in 2019.
Yes.
Quite a good success start to the career. We had obviously a little bit of a blip in lockdown where it went quiet and no one really boxed. But then you were on one of the car park ones as well during lockdown as well, wasn't it? Or the end of lockdown as well in Sheffield, which
Sheffield.
I forget, Fight Zone show, was it? Or
Fight Zone TV. Dennis Hobson,
great again, revolutionary fight. Actually, I watched a lot of those because they were.
Yeah.
It was great to. We had that and football. That was pretty much all.
I know. Yeah, literally.
So that was good. How did you feel the start of your career went? I mean, you did go up like a journeyman. You're not disputing that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. At that time, so when I first turned pro, I didn't actually get trained by Scott because at the time Scott wasn't training anyone anymore. He he trained a couple of amateurs that were going to turn pro, but he didn't train any pros. So I was DCT with Barrington Brown.
Okay, all right.
Echo's trainer, and Derek Casaze, and them guys. So I was with Barrington Brown for the first 4 fights. I'd like to say maybe only 3 actually, but around 3 to 4 fights I was with him, and again really enjoyed it. Developed nicely, and then I wouldn't say a fallout, but me and Barrington just decided to part ways. I felt I've got a lot of time and respect for Barrington and his gym, but it was at the time where Echo was going into some bigger fights, like the British title and English title, and I just felt for myself personally that I wasn't being coached as much as I'd like. So, and again, boxing's it's you've got to be selfish. It's my career at the end of the day, so I decided to leave, and I spoke to Scott. I says, look, I've got this fight coming up. I need a trainer because I feel like I'm not being coached the way I want. And he started training me, and then I've been with him ever since.
And the story's written. Story's written. Because there was obviously then, as you say, the first couple of fights, and so you ran the Sheffield car park fights, and then you were still quite being around Nottingham area, that area, and then you went on a little journey over to Coventry, and unfortunately it didn't come out on top on that one. What was that one for? It was a boxer show, wasn't it?
So it was the tournament.
I can't remember if it was a title tournament. That's I couldn't remember in my head whether it was, but it was 3-3s, wasn't it? And I was thinking,
it was the
that's
3-3
unusual
format.
Yeah. So that obviously didn't go your way that time. So it was only the one fight. Were you expecting to, did you enjoy the process of being the away fighter in this case? Because obviously I know the Sheffield one was thing, but it was lockdown, so it probably wasn't. How did you find that being the difference?
So it was a good experience being under the bright lights, as people will say, under the screen, the Sky Sports screen and stuff. But the funny thing with that, I was actually speaking about it earlier to a lad in the gym. So I was meant maybe the week or 2 weeks before, I was actually meant to fight for the Midlands title. So I'd been training for my first 10-round fight, and then the lad who I was fighting basically pulled out with an injury of some sort, and Scott was like, I don't want to waste this training camp. Like, I was in a good place training wise and whatnot. So then he went looking for a fight for me, and that's when we got the opportunity from John Pegg. John Pegg gave us the opportunity to go on the show. We was like, yeah, why not? It's a great opportunity, big like reward if you win it, and good platform, whatnot. So it was like, yeah, why not? So then, but obviously I'd been training for a 10-round fight, so then I had to like adapt my body to a 3-round fight within 2 or 3 weeks, and so it wasn't ideal, but because of the opportunity, you weren't going to turn it down. But then the fight me and Scott always had a little inkling that was going to fight Ryland Charlton. Don't know what it was, but me and Scott spoke about it, and we said we just felt that it was going to be him, and it was. And I was quite happy with that, because in mine and Scott's mind, one, he was the most like notorious, so there's the most footage out there of him, and everyone, like, I've got a lot of respect for Ryland Charlton, but everyone knew his style. It's just that come forward pressure fighter, and I just thought, I don't mind that. Gets the hardest fight out of the way as such, because he's an handful. And it went exactly how we thought it would. But the only thing that didn't go was the result. I still, even to this day, I still believe I won that fight. But that's boxing.
Boxing is boxing. I'm not going to get into the scorecards and all those sorts of things, because that's I technically am an official, so we don't get into that side of it. I get in trouble with the board. I don't want to do that.
I don't want to do that.
But I mean, as you say, well, for the uneducated, obviously myself as well, perhaps in this one, changing styles from what you're training for in a 10-week camp as opposed to a 4-round camp. How did you do that? Is there something you did or something you think?
I mean, the sparring, first of all, we went from sparring like 8s and 10-round spars to doing a 3-round spars, and then you're getting out. So it was like weird. It was like you do 3 rounds, we get out of the ring for 10-15 minutes, cool back down, and then jump back in for 3 rounds, and then cool down for 5-10 minutes, jump back in for 3 rounds. So that's what we did to try and mimic the style of the tournament. And that all went well. It's just that difference. But it went from like doing longer, like from my strength and conditioning coach's side of things, it went from doing like longer duration running to then like doing sprints all the time, short burst sprints. So it takes a lot on the body. It was a dramatic change, but that's what you do as a fighter, innit? You prepare yourself the best you can.
I was going to precisely say in the body, in the mind. What was going through your mind? Obviously, when you're going through a bit of a loss, really. Not like the fight itself, but more in the capacity of, well, I was fighting for a title. There's a bit of grievance. There's a little bit of time to think about it and put that to bed. And then obviously opportunity comes along, but it's completely different from what you were expecting. How do you deal with that mentally?
Well, the title's great, of course. Like, I would have loved to box for the Midlands title and then go on and win that. But I've actually been penciled into box for the Midlands title 4 times, and it's been cancelled every single time. So that's another story. But yeah, so the Midlands title was great, but the opportunity of won £40,000, because that's what the purse was for winning the tournament, 40 grand in your bank. And then a 12-month contract from Boxer, along with winning, in my head at the time, winning 3 fights in one night. That was a bigger and better opportunity in every sense. So, I was super excited with it, and
so focused on the goal. And what the goal was, or what the opportunity was in this case, and that's how you dealt with it. That's Good man.
Just eyes on the prize, that's all it was. So.
You were going to say I could have said that, but I would sound corny if I'd said it. So because that's what apparently I sound like sometimes. My kids tell me all the time, "Corny, stop being so." Okay, I'm not skippity. Apparently, that's what the kids say nowadays. I've got no riz. My kids will be laughing at me, and I'm like, "Dad, why are you saying that on your podcast for?" Well, it's the way the kids are going. But then we put that behind us. We move on quite quick. A couple of months between fights. So you're back out on the road, You're in Birmingham on this one, and then you're back home in against Clayton Bricknell. This one didn't go your way either.
Big Hype Podcast, sponsored by Hype Energy Drinks.
So the one in Birmingham on the road, that's where the Midlands title story comes back in.
Okay.
I was scheduled to box foe as such from the boxer tournament, Sean Cooper. We got ordered by the board to fight each other for the Midlands title. So
good.
We both trained for that, and what the board do with title fights is check weigh-ins. Everything went smoothly on my side. They do a final check weigh, so you weigh in on the Friday before the fight on the Saturday, but they do a check weigh-in on the Tuesday to see if I think it's 2% of the weight.
Yeah.
Check weight, I'm perfect. Sean Cooper came in a stone overweight, so the board were like, well, we can't let him fight because if he decides to cut weight and makes weight, it's dangerous for him. But then it's also, because Scott kept saying, well, just let Joe win the fight, win the belt, and Sean Cooper can't. But then they were worried that a stone in weight is dangerous as well. So then obviously I just boxed in the home corner against Journeyman and got the win off him. And then after that, obviously it was the one that you said, Clayton Bricknell. Simple with that one. A mistake on my part. I messed up my weight cut, and ultimately I came in overweight, and I probably should have just been a little bit more honest with Scott and said, look, I'm overweight. Can you do something about it? Can you speak to them if they'll bring up the weight or something? But being a very, very stubborn and in my prideful ways, I decided to continue cutting weight. Okay. Morning of the fight, I was cutting weight. I was in the sauna dropping, I think I dropped 4 pounds on the day of the fight. Obviously, at that level, it's an on-the-day weigh-in as well. Yeah. So I made the mistake of doing that. Weight was in the sauna, dropping weight, and then went to the weight. So I think I jumped out of the sauna at probably 2:00. And the weigh-in was at 3:00. So I jumped out of the sauna, 2:00, drove to the weigh-in at 3:00, weighed in, rehydrated, but obviously didn't. And then I think I fought at about 7 o'clock. So 4 hours after I'd been sat in a sauna cutting weight, I was then fighting, and my body just took one punch. So that's what it was. One single punch, and disagreement.
So you kind of sit at what, a lightweight, super light.
Yeah.
Naturally, is that natural?
No, not never natural. Like I'm probably 11 stone is my walk around weight, and I fight at 9 stone 10, top end of 9 stone. So I always cut weight for fights, but like I said, that's where on my behalf I messed it up. I've done weight cuts many times. I boxed at super featherweight as well, so I did a harsher weight cuts before, and yeah, I just day before I was over what I should have been and what I'd like to have been at, and ultimately I paid the price. But that's something I have to live with, and I don't put the blame on anyone else but myself. It was my fault.
No. I'm always interested in that, the weight cutting aspect of the sport, because some people would say you should box where you naturally sit at. There's obviously, you're saying you're quite comfortable doing those cuts, and you manage that per fight, as you say. You bring yourself down to it naturally. That incident, like you say, it was a little mistake on your part, but you normally you're okay with doing that sort of, and people's weight do fluctuate. I mean, that's I go up and down, and we all do.
I mean, I've done weight cuts. I've done lots of weight cuts many of times. It's not nice. It's a brutal thing. But I think my problem only with like that particular day and that weight cut was that I'm a big believer in that there should be no on the day weigh-ins anymore, apart from the amateurs. Amateurs is a different story, but as a professional, the board of control know us as fighters cut weight, and I just feel like because of the big shows, and that was the thing as well. I'd been on a couple of them bigger shows where I'd been weighing in day before, so
you had that time too.
I was just used to that, and that's where I messed it up. Because if I'd have had that 36 hours to rehydrate, I would have been totally fine, because I'd have gone in the sauna the day before in the morning, I'd have gone to the weigh-in in the afternoon, weighed in, and then I would have had 36 hours to get the fluids back in, eat. Yeah, it's maybe not clever, it's not smart, but that is the way in all combat sports weight cutting is done, really.
Okay.
Ultimately, it was just because it was on the day. I shouldn't have done the cut because it was on the day weigh-in. But yeah, it's
that's okay. That's okay. We moved then on to, a bit more into 2024. You had 3 fights in 24 again. And then started off with back in the York Hall, very iconic place. I love working in the York Hall. It's sweatbox and absolutely Baltic in the winter and sweatbox in the summer. And never sure which one you're going to get anyway. And then you came up against an undefeated boxer starting off his career, Albano Jr. And then also following that, you went off to Wembley and you took on Cameron Vung. I probably said that wrong. But again, some more competitive, longer fights, 8 and 10 rounds respectively. 10 and 8 respectively. How did you find those guys? Because they were different, or was it what you expected to see on those shows?
I mean, the fight against Albano Jr. was the English title eliminator, a great opportunity. And it was something I'd been asking Scott for ages. I always wanted the bigger competitive fights. Getting up in the morning and getting out of bed against the journeyman, it doesn't get me out of bed. So I've been asking Scott for a while. I want some competitive fights. So I took that fight against that Albano Jr. and I probably shouldn't have, just because of what happened in the previous fight with that Clayton Bricknell. But it was an opportunity too good to not take. I'd just lost by stoppage, and then they're offering me an English title eliminator that would put me in a great spot. So I thought, why not? Let's do it. It's York Hall, famous venue, ticks one off the bottom.
Brilliant venue.
It's so I thought, why not? And great fight, enjoyed it. Another one that was controversial on the cards. You could have, I think, most people in the venue was split on who won. Like I had people from his family and stuff even saying, "Do you know what? I thought you nicked it." But again, that's boxing. But I think if it was probably when I watch it back and have a look, I would probably say if it was in Nottingham, you might have favoured the home boy as myself, and I won it. But because it was in London on his home territory, he won it. So I don't have no complaints with it. It was a great fight, great life experience.
It was very close on the cards, wasn't it? 94, 96. So
yeah, he won by a point, didn't he? I think so. 2
points. Yeah, 2 points in it. So, 94, 96. So it was a very close fight.
It was.
And I've watched it as well. And I was like, I think actually I probably was, if I was scoring it, I probably would it draw. Because there was that 1 or 2 rounds you think, well, there was, and again, it's what you like. This is what this is what you're
exactly.
It's a combat of styles in that respect as well. So
exactly. But it was a great fight, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
he was a nice guy, and yeah,
there's definitely that. That's definitely one to do. I think perhaps rerun.
Me and Scott spoke about it.
At
the start, because they offered it as like immediately after we had it. They actually said, "Why don't we run it back?" And
yeah,
I was up for it, but I sort of thought in my head like, well, it was an English title eliminator. Why don't you just go on for the English, win that, and then if you win that, we can run it back then. Once you've won it,
give you the first rerun of it. Give you the first shot of the defense. Yeah,
exactly.
First defense. That would have been good.
Yeah, so that never happened, and then we was talking about it to start off this year, so 2025. I thought, do you know what? Why don't we chase that fight, try and get it? But I don't know why. But Albano's not boxing at the minute for some reason. He never went on to even have the English title fight either. So I don't know what the crack is with him. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he can get back to it, and we can run it back at some point in the future. But yeah, who knows?
That's kind of, and then we're pretty much bang up to date. Now, obviously, you had the Wembley fight in between that as well. So what was that one like? Wembley, it must have been amazing to box in Wembley. I mean,
it was one of the amazing experience. Proper it's boxing. Do you know what I mean? It made you feel like you get into professional boxing and you think, right, I'm a professional boxer now, like. And then you realise what the small halls are like, and you're like, well, am I a professional? But yeah, so it was a true sense of being a professional. Yeah, the lights, the cameras, and because it was a part of the AJ Dubois world title build up on Riyadh season. Yeah. So it had that like ×2 magnified of the event. It was even bigger, and and it was a great fight. Like I pushed him all the way and came on strong towards the end, grew into the fight, started a little bit slow, but I enjoyed another one I really enjoyed, and again, a life experience that I've got with me for the rest of my life.
And was that the cut as well?
Yeah, cut. Yeah,
on the left,
early on in the fight.
Yeah,
you can. Might not be able to see it. That's the cut there. It's about I think I had about 10 stitches.
Yeah.
It was a good fight, and that's part of the sport. You don't go swimming and not get wet, do you? So
That's very true. And that brings us up pretty much to the show at the end of last year, in the end of November, where we were in the new Rushcliffe venue, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. Again, so what's the plan then going forward? Are we just rebuilding? Are we going to get back into what's the plan for you, Joe?
What
can you share actually before Scott?
Last week I just literally, what are we on today? It is Monday. Thursday I just signed to fight Aqib Fiaz on the 15th of Feb. So yeah, straight back in for the big fights. It's live on DAZN on the Jack Catterall. Now it's been upgraded as well to a interim world title, so it's a world title bill. I'm fighting Aqib Fiaz over 6 rounds. Super excited. Straight back to it.
It's his return fight to the ring after some after a little bit of time, obviously I won't go into the whole thing. I know the history. I know the story. I know Akib quite well, actually. So I'm looking forward to. I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna take it on. I want to see the best fight from both of you guys, because I think it's going to be after watching you, and obviously after watching Akib, it's a good match on paper, and I think it's going to bring a good match in the ring. So sell it to me.
Yeah, I mean, I just believe I've got what it takes to beat him. I've seen him around, and he's been, I mean, super featherweight, he's been put on his backside in his last 2 fights. So I think at super lightweight, I don't think he's going to be able to take that power from myself. Of course, got to land first. So we'll find out on the night whether he's got the skills to not get caught. But for me, it's that perfect fight. He's got a style that's like with Vong. Vong's got that very elusive, unorthodox style, where I feel as Fiaz is a little bit more lazy in the sense of he just likes to sit on the ropes, pop shot, try and find them shots and find them gaps. When you've got someone putting the amount of pressure that I do and hitting you everywhere you can, I just feel like it's a recipe for disaster for him. So we'll see on the night, but best wishes to him. I hope he has a good training camp and we have a great fight.
I'm looking forward to that one. And I am looking forward to that, because I think when I saw that and I saw the name, I was like, wow, okay, that's going to be a great fight. So I'm looking forward to that. So after this, obviously, if everything goes well, I'm checking which way it would go. What's the plan then? Is Scott and you sort of talking like a 2-year, 3-year, 5-year plan? What's that sort of look like?
No, we go fight by fight. Simple as that. As they say, round by round, fight by fight. So we'll take this one. We'll take it in our stride. In my head, I believe we're going to beat Akib Fiaz, get some more opportunities from Matchroom, Queensbury, whoever it may be. I'd like to get back on a big Riyadh season card. They know me. They know what I bring.
Yeah.
So there's
plenty of opportunities coming like that.
Yeah, there's some big opportunities.
Massively.
Opportunities. I also got offered a fight out in Vegas at the start of the year, but it was too soon after Christmas. Not really been doing much. So that fight's still on the cards as well. We asked the matchmaker to reschedule that for later on in the year. So maybe that one can get made, and that's another big fight for us. So yeah, just one fight at a time. Simplest way. Beat Akib Fiaz, and then Eddie can get his coins out and pay us to fight one of his other fighters. And
Fair enough.
That's the plan.
Obviously, you mentioned a few titles already. You've been in the mix for the English, in the title in the Eliminators. You were in the mix for the Regional Midlands Championship as well. Is there a belt? Is there a championship you have your dream set on? Let's ask that question.
I mean, every boxer's dream really is to win a British and a world title. I'd love to fight for the British. Even the English again. I'd love to fight for the English. Have another go at that, and see what's out there. But yeah, I just want to contest in be a part of big fights and big nights. Bring my friends, my family, yourself, sports fans. Just big entertaining fights. That's all I'm bothered about. At the end of the day, life's just a one big experience, and we only get to run it once. So why not make the most out of taking the opportunities that I'm given, and see what happens.
It's a very positive mindset to have in this game, taking what you can from where you can, and and let the opportunities come flying in. Because as you just said, there opportunities to travel abroad, for more titles if that's the way, and that's what those things will come.
That's it. I mean,
opportunities come always, when you least expect them. Sometimes you think, well, I'm disappointed there, but disappointed I didn't get the Midlands there, but I've opportunity for 40 odd thousand over here, and contract. So opportunities have always sort of one door. Exactly. As I say, door shuts, a window opens.
Exactly. Like I said, life's just one big experience. So I'm just all about getting the biggest and the best experiences. There is. I'd love to box abroad as a professional. That's one that I'd really love to. So, and it's not like it's far away. You got Saudi cards coming up all the time. America, if there's fights out in America, wherever they may be, I just want big competitive fights. And I'm just a throwback fighter. I'm not bothered about like this like undefeated record. Nobody cares really anymore. There was a point after the Mayweather era where everyone was so cared about that, but people just want to see fights. People want to see proper fights, and
I think that is exactly what we want to see nowadays. I think we're all past that point of okay, it's good, it's great that someone is
look
that
at the
dominant.
best fighters. Look at them all. Hagler, Hearns.
I think people have become not so much of a mark, if I can use a word from wrestling terminology. Marks are, they are savvy. They understand boxing now. They've started to understand the sport. They know that, there's certain routes that people take, and I'm not knocking anyone in that capacity. They're there for, there's journeymen in our sport. They're there for a reason. But again, to build up a career based on people who haven't had really competitive fights, then what's the test of the metal, I suppose, in that respect. And I don't mean no disrespect in any way capacity on anyone who's done that. There's a reason for it, So I think competitive fights is what boxing fans now want to see, and with the Riyadh season and everything else, and all the investments coming from abroad into the boxing scene, into not just British boxing, but boxing in the world sport, we're seeing that more and more. We're seeing more competitive fights coming forward, and more opportunities for boxers to box and get paid properly, for that as well. So,
and I think the thing is, well, with boxing, I feel like it's like the age of people getting into their primes now, getting a little bit later on. Like what I usually would, for example, I remember probably 12 months before he went on and won the British, and then 6 months later won a world title. I remember him; he was boxing on Scott's shows, like in leisure centres, and then 6 months later to 12 months, I don't know exactly, but he's gone on and won a British title, which was his dream, and then a world title, and then defended it twice, earned a ton of money, secured his family's futures for a long time, and now is a staple name in boxing. So
indeed.
And look at him. He was probably, I think he was about 33, 34 at that time, and I'm 28 years old. So at worst, I've got another 5 years to go and achieve the British, if it's only the British, the world if it's the world. But that's the plan. Keep fighting whoever they offer me and put in front of me, and conquer the world.
Joe, I love the attitude. I love the positive attitude coming from you in this. And I wish you every success with this. And I think it's going to, I'm looking forward to following, and hopefully again to saying there when you're in there for the world champion, going, I announced him a few months back in Nottingham. Exactly. So good luck with everything. But before we go, we'll wrap up. We'll just do our little questions. These are just very simple either-ors. And you just tell me which one you prefer. Are you okay with that, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get it.
So, do you prefer southpaw or orthodox?
Southpaw.
Body shots or head shots?
Do you say, right, well, I'll just quickly, do you mean box out of or to watch?
To box against. Let's say you're in the ring. What would you rather have in front of you? Southpaw?
I'll go orthodox to box against.
Okay. Body shots or head shots while you're here?
Body shots.
Do you rather train alone or with a partner?
With a partner.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Bit of both, but in camp, early bird. Out of camp, night owl.
Fair enough. Heavy bag or speed bag?
Heavy bag.
Underdog or favourite?
Underdog all day.
Boxing gym or outdoor training?
Boxing gym.
Short, powerful punches or the long, technical?
Long, technical.
Fight dirty or fight clean?
Fight dirty.
You're about the second person to say that. Loud crowd or quiet atmosphere? I'm sure you've had both.
Loud crowd.
Quiet knockout or strategic win?
I'm going to go with knockout.
Okay. And hypothetical question, this probably never happened now after what news came out today, but AJ or Fury?
He'll be back. Don't you worry.
Do you know what? There's a bit of me that has no doubt. I know some of his management team and stuff, and he said it before. Yeah, you'll go away, you'll think about it, and then someone will go, "Do you want a ton of money?" And then you'll go, "Yeah, go on then."
Yeah.
Let's box. Let's do it. Let's do it.
We was going to give you 50 million before you retired. Now you retire, we'll give you 70. Extra 20 million.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah, go on then. I'll have a go at that.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't mean disrespect the man. He's done so much in his career already, and if he was to retire, very good for him. Best of luck with whatever his future endeavours take on. I would love to have seen it. I would have loved to seen that fight. Yeah. I think everyone I've talked to on my podcast, everyone says the same. Would have loved to see it, and there may be opportunity for it. Eddie's still out there. There's obviously, His Excellency. He may want it. He may sort of say, well, let's just put it on as an exhibition. Maybe I think most people would be happy with that.
I think that's the thing. If there's any time and any person to make that fight happen, it is His Excellency, and I'm sure it will happen.
I'm sure it will as well. But obviously, we'll focus. They can let them do them. You do you, Joe, because I'm looking forward to seeing where your career goes, and we will be watching. And I will be saying when I see you in the ring in a world title, going, and Mr. Buffer is announcing you, because there's only Mr. Buffer that can do better than me, obviously. And I'll be there going, yeah, I've called him, and I've called him a few times apparently, because I've done some other shows with him in the past as well. So,
exactly.
Like I said, I know that kid, and he's going to knock him out in the third because he likes the quick finish. So there you go. Joe, thanks so much for joining us on the Big Hype Podcast. Tell people how they can get in contact with you, how they can follow you and follow your story.
So just on Instagram, joe.hughes7, Facebook, Joe Hughes, YouTube. I've started doing some bit of content on YouTube, trying to get people in that way, behind the scenes stuff. So YouTube, just Joe Hughes TV. So yeah, that's it really. I don't really use Twitter or any of the others, but thanks for your time. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, Joe. I've enjoyed the conversation, actually. And I like I've said, it's always good to find out more about you and find more about the fights. Because as I said, I turn up and I say people's name and I watch the fights, and then that's the night over. You've all gone off, and it's just me left there at the end of the night saying goodbye to people, and they're all drunk and leery. And that's the way the show is, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. But I'd like to get to know the fighters and get to know people that actually I'm in the ring with, and see their story, because everyone's got a story to tell, and everyone's got interesting things going on in their life. Like you've got so much going on, and I'd love to see, as I said, I'd love to see you get onto the world stage and go on to that Riyadh season and be headlining. I think that's the best. That's what all boxers want, and I wish that for everyone, and particularly for yourself, Joe. All right.
No, thank you. I really appreciate it, and even down to on the night of shows when you introduce us so amazingly. Again, much appreciated. I'm grateful, and I think just a lot of gratitude towards you, so thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that. But anyway, thank you very much, Joe. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Joe Hughes.
Thank you, thanks. Nice to meet everyone, and I hope you enjoyed.
Take care. Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to the Big Hype Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode, and really, I just want to ask you personally, if you could just send this on to a friend. Send it in their text, to their socials, to WhatsApp, whatever. However you get it to them, just get it to them. I'm sure they'll appreciate it, and I certainly will appreciate it. So thanks again for listening to the Big Hype Podcast, and thank you again for sending and sharing.